last video, we looked at the first section of Kant's Grounding for the Metaphysics of Morals using the Ellington translation published by Hackett, in which Kant said that a good will is the only thing that can be considered good without qualification. He's going to elaborate on this here in what we consider in this video. Before we begin, let me make a general statement about Kant. Okay, Kant is a freaking genius. He's smarter than I am. He's almost certainly smarter than you are. He is also someone with very clever and very good, sometimes highly original, sometimes not at all original ideas. And I think the ideas themselves are actually pretty easy to understand, except someone has to explain them in simple language. And Kant himself, while he's very good at having very good ideas, is not always good at explaining them in simple language. And I don't know how much I can do to fix that situation, but I can only try. Anyway, Kant has talked about the goodwill, or a goodwill, as a thing that is good in and of itself, quite independently of its results. And now he says, but there is something so strange in this idea of the absolute value of a mere will, in which no account is taken of any useful results. There seems something strange about the idea of a will that's good in and of itself, regardless of whether it actually achieves anything good. That in spite of all the agreement received even from ordinary reason, he thinks ordinary, everyday, common sense thinking agrees with what he's saying, that the good will in and of itself is good, quite independently of its results. And it's the only thing good without qualification. And yet there seems something strange in this idea. Yet there must arise the suspicion that such an idea may perhaps have as its hidden basis merely some high-flown fancy. Maybe this idea comes from some high-flown fancy. I think we could probably paraphrase that as some lofty, unrealistic ideal. And that we may have misunderstood the purpose of nature in assigning to reason the governing of our will. Therefore, this idea will be examined from this point of view. Well, that was 2 sentences. The second one was very short, and the first one was ridiculously long. It happens sometimes in philosophy. We may have misunderstood the purpose of nature in assigning to reason the governing of our will. So, it may be, Kant is saying, that this idea of a good will as a thing good in and of itself, independently of its results, is some sort of high-flown fancy, some sort of unrealistic ideal. And it may be that in thinking this way, we've gotten confused. What have we gotten confused about? About the purpose of nature in assigning to reason the governing of our will. So, take it one tiny step at a time. Reason governs the will. Reason is the human faculty of, these are not formal definitions drawn directly from Kant. This is me trying to make sense of his actually very simple ideas in simple language as well as I know how. Reason is the human faculty of making logical decisions and not, for example, just acting on instinct. In other words, reason is the faculty that directs the will in a particular direction, not in direction of whatever whims come to mind or whatever we just want, but in the direction of what, upon rational thought, seems like the right thing. Will is directed by reason, and this is how things work. This is how a human being is constituted. So that's what he's talking about when he talks about nature having assigned to reason the governing of our will. And maybe that's what we've been confused about, he says. And of course, he's going to say we're not confused, and in fact a good will is the only thing good without qualification, and it's good quite independently of any happy results that may come from a good will. But he's going to confirm this by looking at the nature of reason as what governs the will. And I think I might do a decent job with the next 1, 2, 3 paragraphs where he does this, if I just set the text down and summarize it. What he's going to say in the next 3 paragraphs is that reason is going to succeed at what is its true function. What is its proper function? The proper function of reason is that at which it's going to succeed. So he's considering whether a good will is good in and of itself, quite independently of whether it achieves any happy results. And then he's going to say, this can be confirmed by human reason succeeding at guiding the will in a good direction and failing to achieve happiness. So we're considering goodwill and good results, which is above all happiness. We're considering goodwill and whether it achieves happiness, and whether goodwill is good in and of itself, independently of whether it can achieve happiness. And he's going to say that his view that goodwill is good in and of itself, quite independently of whether it can achieve happiness, is confirmed by the very structure of humanity, the very structure of a human being, the very nature of a human being, because reason directs the will, and what reason succeeds at doing is directing the will to obey moral law. Reason succeeds at directing the will to obey moral law. It does not succeed at achieving happiness. And therefore, what reason succeeds at is a clue to what is the purpose of a human being. I think that's the best way to phrase it. Reason succeeds. Now let me rephrase that. That at which reason succeeds is that which is the purpose of a human being. And then he's going to explain for 3 paragraphs. Reason succeeds at directing the will towards obeying moral law. Reason succeeds. Let me see if I can find a way he phrases that himself. To produce a will good in itself, reason was absolutely necessary. Maybe I can't find a way where he phrases that, so I'll just go back to my paraphrasing. Reason succeeds at directing our will in the direction of moral law. Reason succeeds, in other words, let me try to bring this back to simple, ordinary English. Reason succeeds at helping us always mean well in everything we do. In other words, when we use reason, when we use our faculty of thinking logically to try always to do what is right, we always succeed trying to do what is right. Reason has a perfect track record here. But when we use reason, when we use our faculty of thinking logically to just try to achieve happiness and just enjoy life, we actually tend to fail. And that indicates that what reason is actually meant for is achieving this goodwill and not achieving happiness, which is to say, reason is a goodwill is the ultimate purpose of human life and not happiness. As ultimate purpose, it is, at least thus far, confirmed to be the thing which is good in and of itself. In other words, having a good will, meaning well, intending well, deciding to do what's right by moral law in all our actions is the ultimate purpose of life. Being happy is not. And a good will is still, clearly, a thing good in and of itself, regardless of whether it succeeds in achieving happiness. Now, this does not mean happiness is not a purpose of life at all. What it means is it's not the ultimate purpose. More another time, or in fact in another video I've done quite some time ago on where happiness fits into the purpose of life. But I have to run to class. That's quite enough for this video, and he doesn't really talk about that here, if I'm not mistaken. More Kant next time. Thanks for watching.